would be very good at. So we're finally into the final best of 5. Starting off on Death Aura in the bottom right. There's the blue Zerg. It is Lambo. That's right. It's a Zerg in the finals of the Open Cup. Who'd have thunk it? In the upper left, there's the red Terran. We got Liquid Clem. Known for his micro. Known for his TVZ primarily. Lambo's gonna be in some trouble, but Lambo as the kind of it's so funny whenever you do this, you know, like a 29-year-old talking about people who are almost like 10 years younger than me oftentimes. And like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, but like, Lambo is the old guy here compared to Clem. It feels like he's gonna be the more experienced, level-headed one, the guy who's like, maybe I'm not gonna be the best, maybe I'm not gonna beat you by like, you know, fancy footwork and micro and drops. What I can beat you in is, you know, strategy and decision making. You know, he's the Nestea to the MKP or something like that, right? And that's so funny because Lambo's actually also very young. But that's kind of the thing I would expect to have happen. I don't think Lambo is really well known for his flash. He's actually, I think, more well known for his substance and his ability to think critically about the game and his analysis when he's on broadcasts and, you know, all that good stuff. So I do think that it's going to be really tough for him to win even a map, honestly. I think it'll happen again like it happened versus Here Marine, where he'll look promising, stable, fine, good TVZ, and then suddenly Clem will just like turn it up to 11 and obliterate Lambo. Honestly, that is what I expect. But Lambo, as someone who has previously been one of the top 3 Zergs, I think arguably even top 2 Zerg before Raynor came up, right? He knows what it's like to win tournaments. He knows what to do to win. He just has been really working his way back up to that presence in the European scene since falling off in 2018. But showing in the finals of this Open Cup, while most people scoff and be like, it's an Open Cup, like who really cares? These Open Cups have really become quite prestigious, I think, for Europe specifically. It is always good talent. It's always a variety of talent. It's always like good games, I would say. I never have an entire day where I'm like, yeah, today kind of sucked. And I think that actually him is also one of the rare Zergs who has made it this far, with Vanya getting to semis with him as well, like is actually kind of impressive, considering how often it doesn't happen. So, this is very interesting. So I was wondering, after watching Kira do his Widowmine shit, if it was suddenly going to become the standard. And it seemed like something that Clem would be excellent at, didn't it? You know, multitasking, very flashy, and then, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Clem tried to even expand on it and go for the Widowmine drops plus even more harassment, proving he's faster and better than Kira or something, right? But we do have a setup right now that is kind of what Kira's using as his jumping board, I guess, right? Like, he's going to go for 3cc 211. And then if he is going to do the Cure thing, then he's going to add on a very fast second factory. When I was casting those games, I didn't realize until one of the later games just how fast the second factory had gone down. I mean, Cure played more than just that style, you know, but when he was doing that style, it was like a very, very fast second factory. We'll see, we'll see. Clem could just be doing the kind of normal 2-1-1 follow-up to a 3cc. Lambo's going to scout this, which is absolutely excellent for him. But it could just be that he's going to go for a drop, control the game, and then go for a follow-up push, not really doing any of the fanciness that was the Widowmine drops, and the non-stop Widowmine drops. But I'd love to see it, I would. And there are the medevacs. Lambo's gonna grab his lair, as he's going to go into a bit faster. Okay, no, he's gonna grab 2 evolution chambers and a roach warren. Okay, so we might not see a spire at all. And I was incorrect to say faster. I was just gonna say he's going to spire. But yeah, he's not going to inspire at all, I don't think. I mean, the Roachborn could be a temporary thing, but you don't... You know, Roachborns are temporary defenses against, like, an early Hellbat push, not against something that is ultimately a macro build, even though it hits with 2 medivacs kind of fast. So he's actually just going to go for a 1-1 Roach all in. Interesting response. I talked a lot about the power of the 1-1 Roach attack on Lightshade, because I really still believe it. But we haven't really seen any other maps be especially prone to this attack. I mean, I think any map can be, but I'll show in a second what makes a, you know, a good map for it or not. Lots of creep being cleaned up. Lambo wasn't quite prepared here. Only 3 queens, only a handful of lings. Now feeling a little more confident with the 4th queen coming up, but loses 1 queen regardless. So what makes, like, a good attack for a Roach player? So we're going to talk about, like, you know, wide open spaces. If they get a big concave, then tank fire isn't as useful. If the tanks can attack from a protected location, then the Roach attack isn't as good, right? The tank goes up here, and the Roaches are caught here trying to attack. They're never going to reach this tank, yet it's still going to reach them. Rush distance also, I think, is something you would consider a little bit, but I don't think it's as much as the things I just mentioned. And then I guess, of course, the biggest thing on top of everything I just mentioned, all these, like, hypotheticals and details about the map and shit like that. Like, the biggest thing is that they need to recognize that that's what you're doing. So that's where we're getting a little bit concerned now for Clem. Despite having a dropout in the map, which gives you some scouting, he's actually not yet scouted the Roaches, I don't believe. So, like, the Lings have been corralling the medevacs back with the Queens, and so the Roaches have yet to be seen or not going to be scanned here. But it is a very late 4th base, though, and I wonder if Clem's kind of, like, right now going, wait, what is this? But he has not recognized the Roach attack. He's still going into Drilling Claws and Widow Mines, which we did see Cure hold a similar attack with, but I gotta say, I think it was, you know, 1 in 100 games that happens. Now he figures it out, but it's too late. The bunkers come down as the Roaches come in. Not a fantastic sign. So the thing about Cure is that he was able to pull back into the safety of his natural and buy a lot of time. And his Widow Mines also got multiple hits thanks to their invisibility. This time, Lambo's got an Overseer. He's going into the natural immediately, so he's forcing Clem to respond. Clem pulls the SCVs, brings the drop back, and maybe he can hold on, but this isn't even it. The Roaches are still reinforcing across the map, and Lambo just bamboozled Clem. GG. Clem had no idea. Lambo did an excellent job of hiding his true intentions there. Well done. Guys talking about Dreamhaven and whether or not they might make an RTS. They might. I have no idea. I have no inside knowledge, but I can tell you that someone's making an RTS. ZombieGrub, tell us more. No. It's not tied up. I don't know why I thought that. That was just game 1. In the bottom right, up 1-0, he is Lambo. And the top left is the Red Terran. We got Clem. So this is the map that I thought a Roach attack could be very likely on. But Lambo kind of went for more of the surprise factor than the abuse factor. I think Death Aura actually has a lot of things going for it defensively that makes it a good map to defend that type of push on, if you know about it. But Lightshade does not. Lightshade, there's no high ground that the tank's still firing protectively over its 3rd base. The 3rd base is this huge concave, so tanks are really not great at shooting down the Roaches, and it's a short rush distance from 3rd to 3rd. It's between nat to nat, it's the same as submarine, and third to third, even smaller. But now that Lambo has done it, I don't think he can do it again. I mean, he might choose this time to go for power over surprise and just be like, no, I think it's a very strong strategy. He could, but Clem would be, I think, more on top of it and more well prepared. And when he knows it's on the way, I think he knows what to do. And that's not just building tanks. That's not just building bunkers. That is also the way you position your army and the way you choose to use your army and whether you choose to retreat or engage, because you can lift off if you think it's going to be that all in. So my eyes are kind of on Lambo, even though we're probably going to see a difference, a more interesting thing to talk about with Clem first. You know, literally, is it going to be another 3cc build, or is it going to be maybe Banshee build? To go into Banshees just because you're afraid of eventual roaches is kind of something that, like, pros really don't want to do, I would say, right? Because the Banshees, with its, you know, build 2 Banshees, you build Cloak, that is a considerable sum that pushes off, I think, your barracks or maybe your tank, I think. So you don't really, like, see it unless they think their opponent would do roaches early or late. Or if they think that it's going to be such a surprise that their opponent does take damage from the Banshees, right? There's a reason it kind of fell off, and for a time, even some of the pro gamers were saying that it's a terrible build. I remember Hero Marine, like, a year or 2 years ago, was talking on the stream and was like, no, it's a terrible build. Because, you know, Hero Marine's very candid. But you could even get a safety Banshee, and while it doesn't help, like, the most against that 1-1 roach attack, I mean, it could help a little bit. I just don't think you're preparing that far in the future. He is going for a second gas, though, so he's definitely getting up to a starport. Lambo so far is going for a third hatch, and it's certainly not going to be any early aggression from Lambo. Clem really wanted the tumor, but he wants to keep the Reaper alive, even more so the tumor gets weak, but not killed. And now we got Hellions, so... a couple of Marines being produced. See if he goes up to a third one, I'm gonna be suspicious about an armory. He goes 2 and then a tech lab. Well, okay. Could we have an armory come down? Some serious revenge for the last game. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. I always called this the classic Hellbat push. I feel like it was one of the first ones that was designed when people were building them up. There's also the stupidly fast one. And I forget what you do with that build, honestly. I haven't seen it in a long time. But it's like you like have like 4 Hellions. And then 6, like the extra 2 are on the way. And like that's how fast the Hellbat push comes. But I forget what that build is. But anyways, this is a classic because it doesn't include... like the Banshees, it doesn't have Marauders, it just has a couple of Marines, a Medevac, and Hellions. Liberator's gonna follow this up, and Lambo should expect that, but if he's panicking, because he's gonna lose the game, or lose all of his queens, well, the Liberator could also be doing some extra damage. It seems like the time is to panic, isn't it? Lambo had no idea this was on the way. His queens weren't super well positioned, and while they now get back on to creep into a concave, trying to target down that Medevac, they are unable to do so. Not many transfuses for them as well. Lambo's trying his best to hold on. He's starting to dig into the health of some of these Hellbats, but then Clem starts microing, and Lambo might just tap out. I mean, he knows that even if he holds at this point, it's going to take so many resources to do so. So many lings will be lost, so many drones not made, so much third base not mining, you know? And no tap out. Medevac finally goes down. Lings will finally clean this up as well, but this was a lot of damage to take. Lambo lost almost all of his queens. 6 queens went down. The Liberator actually is not being microed. There we go. So another queen could go down as Lambo's trying to initiate a counterattack. He's a bit late to the pull, so the 7th queen will go down. And seeing no Spore Crawler, knowing the queen count is low, he's going to just park himself right on top of that natural. And I think just leave it there, right? Just to deny all of that mining. He's going to reposition, but a counterattack's not going to work out. Clem is, he built more Hellions. Wasn't going to allow a counterattack to mess things up. GG. Clem immediately ties things up for a 1-1. Everyone's ready to get into Oxide for the third game. Lambo didn't really have much scouting, honestly. And I feel like I've critiqued that in the past from Lambo. I always make sure to emphasize that Lambo isn't just lazy or, you know, bad. It's just that he has a lot of other ways that he can tell. But as far as Lambo having like 2 overlords on the other side of the map to get full scouting, nah, he's not usually going to do that. As far as him grabbing overlord speed, kind of only when it was in the meta, only when it was really cheap. And suicide overlords, honestly, even that, you know, Lambo doesn't do too often. So I do think it's been a weakness of his in the past. He usually makes up for it with like Ling scouting and like counting, I mean, even depots at some point. Getting into the natural, so he buys time. Usually his queen defense, I would say, is a bit better against surprise hellbats as well. Because you see, you know, sometimes those hellbats, especially when they're not being microed, like Clem is doing, if, like, all 6 queens, let's take this map, for example, if this was a bunch of creep spread and all 6 queens were in a concave, meeting the hellbat drop or the medevac push and killing that, like that, we've seen defenses based off of that. Non-baneling defenses, but he was really, really caught off guard. So what I'm trying to get to is that while Lambo will occasionally get bopped like that, I don't think he gets bopped like that twice. I don't think Clem is even going to try to do that again. Well, certainly not the exact armory build at least, but maybe a different one. And I guess yet again we'll be paying attention to the second gas geyser, won't we? I guess it's possible that Lambo does another aggressive strategy even earlier this time. Since I am sticking with my whole narrative of Lambo being the older, wiser, more strategic player. And Clem being the flashier, aggressive player. Couldn't think of another word for it. He's gonna get a second gas. Could simply just be for Sim and Liberator harassment. It feels like Liberator harassment, you know, of the just regular variation, just Stim, not Hellbat attack. It feels like it's not supposed to do very much, right? Because, you know, it's a common enough build, and it's just one Liberator. I mean, how big of a deal could it be? But we've certainly seen Clem make people look like gold leaguers against a single Liberator. And Hellions, of course. But like the whole thing is that the Hellions, you don't really expect much from them either, unless the Zerg player really is playing quite greedy. But Clem has done a great job at distracting Zergs in the past. And for the Marines or a tech lab. Alright, well, for me, I'm going to count up to 2 Marines. If there's a third one, he is going to do the armory attack again. If he just gets 2... I mean, it is a delay on his stim. I think it might be just to trick Lambo into thinking it could be something nefarious. But Lambo, again, as I was saying, doesn't really do a lot of scouting, doesn't do a lot of suicide scouting. So it's not like this is really going to scare him into thinking something nefarious is on the way. Like a single Marine, actually, not even a second Marine, right? So a single Marine would stop it from suiciding in, because it would figure... I've already seen enough, first of all, but... Also, it knows it would die beforehand. Lambo is not setting it in. He literally says a single Marine. Reaper gets in the main, and that is good scouting for Clem. And then, of course, he's going to save it, because he actually uses it with his Hellions. And his Hellions going into that third base. A couple of Queens available, not many drones anyways. Not too scary. Tech Lab is finally added on. Finally getting a Suicide Overlord Scout, but that is going to see a Tech Lab building and a Liberator on the way. If this was the Hellbat attack, I think if he had seen a couple more Marines, he would have immediately been like, okay, get prepared. But only 1 Marine, just the Liberator. Didn't see a medevac flying across, right? He is going to know it's just macro. A couple Spore Crawlers come down to help out against the Liberator. Clem goes into a third of the front. Gotta be careful on this map, don't you? No, it's another map, actually. One of these maps in the map pool, you have to be careful about how you build your CC. He's good. And Lambo's going into a similar timed lair to the first game. And double evolution chambers, but no Roachhorn. Link count might not be high enough to stop these Hellions from actually getting damaged on. Maybe the link count is just barely enough. Just barely enough. Plus 4 queens do add up to actually kill these Hellions. And we got ourselves 1-1 into Spire and Baneling Nest. Not the fastest Spire you can do, not the fastest 1-1 you could do, and oh, okay, it actually is going to be a Roachhorn. Perhaps making sure that the Hellions are good and dead before he plopped that down. I was just going to comment about how, like, that timing of Evolution Chamber and Lair is a little odd. We do usually see either a preference, a faster 1-1 for Lings, or we see a faster Spire. So when he slaps down, like, kind of the Lair and then 2 Evos, I was like, oh, it's just, like, a different build, I don't know. But maybe this is actually indicative to us, seeing all the production tab, right, that it is going to be Roachhorn. For Clem, I mean, it's kind of unlikely he'll ever get this much scouting done. He doesn't have map hacks. He won't see exactly when the evolution chambers finish. And he certainly won't be seeing the Roachhorn.
This better be good.
So Lambo's going to try this once more. Clem's already changed things up a little bit anyways. I mean, literally the opener was different, but he's also going into tanks. Now this could just be a couple of tanks, good old-fashioned 2-tank pressure, and then an oh shit, he's going for roaches. But if he is going to continue building tanks, that would be very good for him. I don't see him swapping it off, but I don't see any tanks being produced either. Uh-oh. Clem moving to the left side. Looks like he's going to do that 2-tank push on a Lambo's 4th, and this gets really awkward because you can escape with the Marines, and if you can escape with the tanks, I think that's preferable, but the thing is if they siege and then get attacked by the roaches, you can't pick them up in siege mode. So this turn's really awkward. Lambo is going to jump on this as soon as he's prepared. Maybe lose a queen. There's Clem's first indication that it's roaches. He immediately unsieges and picks up. Very quick response there. Very good response there. You really don't want to be losing those 2 tanks. And he immediately slaps down some bunkers as well. Lambo's almost prepared to do the attack again, though. Like, it's such a late bunker. And wow, okay, Oxide's actually even more awkward for this. Whoa, okay. You know, with the rocks being broken down, this suddenly becomes really difficult. And, you know, Clem did account for the rocks being broken down, so he's building in the correct locations. But look at how much space the roaches could have to not be clumped up once they get down the ramp. Now that's 3 tanks, with a 4th about to pop. Multiple bunkers as Lambo waits for more reinforcements and Ravagers. Let's see if it's going to be enough. The supplies look quite bad, but they always do against the roaches. Backing up into the bunkers is something he absolutely has to do. 1 tank goes down, but another one replaces it, but for only a very short amount of time. The roaches have gone away, though, and the Ravagers are the juicy center that is so easy to tear down. And Clem, all of a sudden, going from a 60 supply deficit to just a 10 supply deficit. My God. He absolutely thrashed this. This was an easy hold. Because of an excellent response. I mean, in one way, he kind of got fortunate that he was doing a tank opener instead of a Widowmine opener, which Lambo was maybe hoping he would do. But in another way, if you do lose those 2 tanks because you siege up and go, oh shit, like that would have been huge too, right? But because he was able to save those, pull it back, build a bunker, he made it look like the easiest defense ever. Clem's map hacks. Is his brain? He's got a big brain. He's got a wrinkly brain. You know, it's still developing because he's like literally 17, but it's a wrinkly one. Thank you very much, Ancient One SC2, for the gifted sub. No, for converting a sub. There you go. Oh, thank you. Now we're committed. I can't believe AOC is responding to big Twitch streamers. She responded to Pokemon, and she responded to Hassan. I don't watch him, so I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of silly. But I guess with the New Zealand, you guys have a prime minister, yes? Appearing on that guy's Twitch channel, it's all the rage now. They come on the Pillars of Gold for game 4. In the bottom left, down 1, he is Lambo. In the top right, he is Clem. I guess a bit of a trend today for Clem is that he gets a bit surprised by his opponent in the first game. And it's like, oh, right, yeah, okay. And then the next couple of games just obliterates them. Does seem to happen with our best players, doesn't it? Like, sometimes they really are perfect and they don't lose any games. And it's like, oh my god, geez, whoo, calm down there. And sometimes they have to be reminded to play perfectly. And then eventually people will come up to their skill. Everyone's gotten a lot better trying to reach after Raynor and Cyril. But then they'll still be pretty damn good and they'll still win. I don't think Lambo can do that 1-1 roach attack again. I just don't know. Maybe if he gets scouting, you know, like that first game, because he saw it was a third CC with the 2-1-1 follow-up, because he got a Ling in, which wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. I even wonder if that was not just a surprise factor in general, like I want to surprise you with 1-1 roach, but also a reaction saying, well, not only am I going to surprise you, but I'm also going to find you building a bunch of Widow Mines, which aren't nearly as helpful. If so, brilliant. Excellent. Wouldn't put it past him.
Thank you for appeasing the Overmind.
But if that is, you know, what would actually make the difference of a hold or a not hold for Clem, Lambo would have to somehow get that confirmating, blah, 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 blah. He would have to get that confirmation scout again. I try to make a new word, confirmating. I don't think it works out. Thank you very much, Verdalicious, for the Prime sub. Bird roaches would have been interesting. You can't really fit in Burrow plus Tunning Claws with the attack. It's kind of expensive. I mean, you'd have how many less roaches and less Ravagers? And then it's a graphical upgrade, so as soon as you're like, oh, I'm going to do my all-in, okay, have Tunneling Claws to continue harassing. The Terran player, even though we don't deal with Tunneling Claws very often, I can guarantee the pros would be like, oh, they have Tunneling Claws, and then build missile turrets, and it isn't very helpful. And playing out a roach game, say if Lambo hadn't completely dedicated, but rather went, oh, I can't beat this, I'm going to go back home, is really difficult to do against Terrans who know how to play. Against, you know, us plebs, it's not a big deal, but against a guy like Clem, yeah, you're going to just get out-harassed and multitasked and no anti-air, and he's going to size up your silly roaches and demolish them, so there's not really kind of a point to playing out a game with roaches unless you have that weird, awkward game where you killed 30 SCVs, but you're still hanging on, and, you know, whatever. Third CC is the build here, and Lambo could actually very easily scout this. Clem almost... There's actually no reason I can see why he wouldn't put it back here to hide it, except that it is now the fastest command center on location as possible, without really putting it on location. So I think it's more like he doesn't care if it's seen. I don't know if that's always true, though. Like, you do... Like, we have seen guys like Stefano, for instance. I'm like, I don't know how many people scout a third CC later on, that is, and then go for an all-in. Well, Stefano would do that, so I don't think you can always be like, well, we're both gonna macro, so suck it. But Clem is gonna have that happen. And I guess the addition, too, is that if he was scouted and Lambo went, aha, I'm going to roach attack you because I see you're going for a third CC, Clem is adding on Banshees. So if Lambo did that, Clem would then go, aha, ha, ha, I have Banshees, which would ideally save him from any roach attack. Lambo is kind of going to see this information. He's funnily enough... Oh, that's actually so funny. How did that happen? He's completely missed the third CC. What? So, I'm actually not sure I think maybe Lambo would know that it's a third CC build. Well, now he knows. Okay, I was gonna say, do you know that it's a third CC build based off of the tech lab still spinning? I don't know what the usual cloak finishing time is for a 2-base Banshee build, despite it being my go-to build. But it doesn't matter because he actually saw the third CC. Now, Lambo's already committing to 1-1 upgrades. That was his style of play here. He's going to know a little bit better as to what the follow-up push timing is going to be, since it wasn't a clean 3cc into barracks production and starport production with medevacs. It's not going to be like a, 7-minute drop or whatever it is, push whatever it is. There is going to be a bit of delay on that because the Banshees have come out. Clem, he really would like to do something with the Banshees, and with 2 of them, I think he will eventually do something. But I'm going to go ahead and say that they're a little more, like, defensive. And now he's going to have to hope for maybe 6 or 7 drone kills. Something like that. Lambo is obviously going to have much faster upgrades, but that was a given kind of no matter what Clem did. With the build Lambo chose. I guess you could go on a much faster 1-1. You could have, but he didn't. And Lambo's going to have Baneling speed before the push comes, or ideally he will, and then we'll see if he adds on Hydralisk or Spy. I'm kind of feeling the Hydralisk, personally, but we'll see. 2 Banshees go in the main, deflected by a Spore Crawler and 2 Queens. Natural looking a little bit juicier, gonna grab an Extractor, which in a way is grabbing a drone. Hallion's looking for openings, but plenty of Queens to the right, plus a couple of Lings. Banshee's still alive and well, might just skedaddle. Just skedaddle. Couple of drones. There we go. All right, 3 plus an Extractor, so kind of 4. And a Queen. Yeah, these Banshees doing pretty well because they're alive. And the Hellions were not sacrificed for no reason. He's gonna have 6 Hellbats along with his first push and 2 Banshees. Could complicate matters. But generally, when it comes to Hellbats actually adding anything to a push, I would say that it doesn't usually. Like, it's supposed to. It sounds like it would, you know? But then, especially if they don't split, it's like, well, you got the Banelings, you got the Banelings, you know what I'm saying? Oh, well, the Hellions might not actually be joining the push after all. Ling's already on top of this. Good control from Clem, though, to save the day. He's going to see those Lings go an awkward direction and wonder about his defenses back at home, or even worry about being surrounded later on. But as the armory finishes up, he has his first push. Lambo is not quite prepared. Oh, actually not prepared at all for this. His Banelings are so late. But the scan reveals the Banelings. I guess maybe he thought the Lings were coming back home, or... Okay, well, he's gonna pull back. All right. I think he was playing it safe because he wasn't sure where those, like, 30 Lings were. They kind of were, like, missing the timing for the counter, but they weren't hitting him yet, so, like, what's going on there? They were indeed going for the run-by. Didn't do a whole lot before SCVs going down. They scouted 3 very quick extra barracks, so he knows it's an 8 racks. Clem looks like he's lost those Hellbats to something. I guess Banelings. Ling's getting back in, might be killing more SCVs than we think because of tank-friendly fire. Looks like Clem's combat shields is surprisingly late. I do believe that's a straight-up mistake. I wasn't paying attention at the time, but now I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, it's gonna finish at 9:30. That sounds like it's wrong. Or it's gonna finish at 9. Still sounds like it's wrong. But Clem on 8 racks, kind of all in here. So one important thing about dealing with the 8 racks of the Zerg player is basically don't overcommit. Already as a Zerg player, you don't want to ever just throw all of your Banelings into the mess. You want to throw, like, you know, 60% of them and then have some so they don't just immediately stim forward and run onto you. But I'd say even more so against the 8 racks. And then against the 8 racks, I mean, depending on how the rest of the game has gone, I do think you have to be very careful about teching up. So Lambo added on a Hydralisk Den, but I was like, does he really want to use it? Apparently he doesn't. He is going into an Infestation, but he's going to try and get up to maybe some Vipers and Ultras if he can. Big Ling run by this time, a lot more effective. Banshee's coming back to help defend, but they don't clear up Lings that fast, so lots of dead SCVs. And also hoping to really delay the push. Clem is going to let the SCVs fall, basically, while continuing to push as fast as possible, moving his tanks forward. 3rd one in the backside. Not going to help out very much, or 4th one, actually, my bad. But 3 on the front could do it. It's all on creep. Does Lambo have enough? Lots of connections for the Banelings. Queen's even helping against the Medivacs, and it looks like Lambo he has enough. Clem's gonna start dropping while he can. He's gonna have a second attempt at a push that could go fairly well yet still, but that was a pretty good hold for Lambo, because what it did was that it maybe didn't entirely clean it up. Maybe it didn't, you know, trade out so that he's 15, 20, 30 supply ahead, which would be the bestest, but it did halt it. So now Clem's only doing a drop while reinforcing back at home. So that's a lot of time for Lambo to breathe. But do keep in mind that Lambo lost his 4th base, so he's breathing on 63 drones. Not that impressive. Drop still doing some damage here and there, plus a drop to the right side rather. Should have caught the hatchery. It does indeed. The Lings having 2-2, they're going to be surprisingly effective at dealing with drops, but you can never underestimate Marines under Medivacs. And Clem's 2-2 is finishing up as I speak. Overlord goes down. Maybe creep spread. I wonder if they're going to use, you know, scan over here, though. I think we'll see him clear up creep where we'll see him clear up creep where he wants to push. And I don't think he pushes over to the right side. He's going to push that 4th base again. And then, with that idea in mind, I mean, it's not clearing it up, so... Could be a problem. That's all the Marines. I mean, Queens are kind of good, and they're going to grab 2 of the Medivacs, but Ling's need to help out too. So, a couple of... Did he transfuse a Ling? Okay, a couple of Queens going down. But all the creep spread still available, and now it's Lurkers. I think Lambo is held, guys. Lambo's going to have 7 Lurkers, and he might be able to buy time for range. Are you kidding me? I mean, Clem's actually not giving up on this game. He goes for a second factory, which really does mean he's going to try and play out this game. But in terms of getting a 4th CC up, I don't know how he plans on doing that. Another big Ling run by. I'm surprised that Clem didn't have a supply depot here. Maybe it died, but he didn't replace it. It's a little surprising. Ling run by, gonna grab a tank, which isn't too bad. Doesn't take a super effective fight, but tank's never bad. Scan reveals a lot of Lurkers. I don't think he actually wants to push into that. There you go, splitting away from it. That is so many Lurkers, and they're gonna have an upgrade. They're gonna have their range. Clem, no, not even you. You can't do it. You're not gonna micro your way out of this one. That's too many Lurkers. And now I don't know what Clem does. He actually just lifts his main over to the left. But as an orbital, against some guy who's been consistently running by, like, it's a little bit dangerous. It looks like a Liberator's done a good job killing off some drones. So remember that Lambo's always been on a low drone count, and now he's on a lower drone count. So even though he's managed to get up to Lurkers, I think Clem's like just hoping he has too much stuff, and damn if he isn't right. He might be right. Lambo only recently getting his 4th base up and running, with his 3rd constantly being denied mining access, on a low drone count that is really low at this point. I mean, Clem might just be right. He might be able to overpower Lambo. Now, Lambo has these siege units, though, right? Which are going to be fantastic in this type of position. Anytime you're on a low economy, having something that can hold a line is going to be great. Tanks, libs, lurkers, kind of disruptors, I guess, in a sense. But anyways, Lambo gonna need to buy some time for sure. Good counter micro from Clem there. And he's also gonna he's gonna have to not take any further damage to his economy, which is apparently not gonna, yeah, no, it's gonna go down. So, the hive ultimately being for lurkers, with that Hydralisk Den, still means that we have really no anti-air. And this is a very awkward hold. It looks like he shift-queued his lings. I don't know what happened, but he's also attacking aggressively with the lurkers, and this is actually giving Clem the opportunity to get a concave. Might have been a mistake. Banshee's also here, so as soon as Clem has a scan, that's the problem right now. Yeah, he's gonna clean things up. Lambo with the attack was really hoping to find Clem not paying attention and did make the supplies awfully close. But then also gave Clem an opportunity to get his surrounds, and damn. When Lambo had lurkers, I was like, wasn't that, that's not good.